Hey everyone, I'm Amit, working as software quality assurance lead and a test automation enthusiast. And the topic for today's discussion is containerization of Pytests. And to just set the expectations, we'll go very step by step, and hopefully by the end of this video you should be able to understand how you can run your tests inside a Docker container. Okay. So for the sake of simplicity, I have divided this particular uh, demo in five areas. uh, as you can see on your screens here. And for this particular session, there are two prerequisites. One is you should have a basic knowledge of Pytest. So Pytest is a Python-based framework. It's very powerful and flexible, and it lets you write uh, tests like from simple unit tests to complex functional tests. And the other prerequisite for this session is you should have Docker installed on your machines. So Docker, as most of us know, is a software containerization platform which allows us to deploy all the software components and their dependencies as one package. And that way we can be completely sure that the test setup is the same irrespective of our host operating systems. All right, so yeah, let's get started. So let's go to the first step, which is creation of PyTests. And for this particular thing, I'll open my IDE and just drag it here. And people who have worked on PyTest know that the test uh, files and the test methods need to start with the keyword test. So I will go ahead and create a new file called as test underscore container.py. And I'll just cancel this for now. And just to save time, I'll just copy paste some code here, and I'll explain that code as well, so don't worry. Okay, so this is the code which we will run today. It's pretty simple. I'm importing the Pytest library so that I can use the fixtures and the annotations or the markers. uh, so this is our fixture, which is kind of like a setup and tear down method, uh, which PyTest gives us access to. And this is my first test method, which is my smoke test. And I'm printing smoke here. And this is my second test, which is a regression test. And these are just the markers, just so that I can identify the tests with them. Okie dokie. So let's go and run. I'm already inside the PyTest directory, so I will just go ahead and run PyTest and this test underscore container.py, and let's see what it does. Okay, these are a couple of warnings. Okay, so both the tests have passed since it shows green here. And if you want to check the output of these particular methods, you have to give some parameters to this command, which is -m smoke. And I'll just say disable warnings because I don't want the console window to get clogged up with these warnings. Okay, so I'm running my smoke test with this marker here, and let's see what it does this time. Oh, I forgot another switch, which is minus S minus V. This is for the verbose displaying of whatever we want. Okay, so yeah, as you can see, this time it just ran the smoke test, and it ran the before and uh, after methods as well. Cool. So I think we are done with the first part here. So second is requirements.txt and Docker file. So let's go ahead and visit the local file structure for this particular tests. And if I say go open an Explorer, uh, this is where the container test file has got created. And those who have worked on Pytest know that there is something called as a requirements file, which you have to generate, which enlists all the dependencies which are required for this particular project. I already have one created here, but the simplest way to get to it is do a pip freeze, and this will enlist uh, everything what you have installed. Uh, so for the purposes of this demo, I'm not going to include all of them. I already have a text file here which has Pytest dependency enlisted and a WebDriver manager, just for the sake of demo. You can add whatever you want, like a robot framework, all those things. Okay, and other thing is Docker file. So what is Dockerfile? So Dockerfile is the place where you specify what base images you will need for running your tests, and all the customizations that you'll be doing on top of that uh, image. So it is just Dockerfile. Okay, and think of it as a recipe of what we are trying to build and run. Uh, I'll just show. So for this particular thing, we need a Python base image. And if you go to uh, Docker Hub, you can see the official image for Python. Uh, and we have a wide variety of images, which are like slim images and alpine images as well. So let me do Docker images here. Okay, so as you can see, this is like the base Python image, and if this is too big for us, then what we can do is go with a slim version of that. And this is an alpine version, which is just 44 MB. Okay, so let's go ahead and create our Docker file. And again, I'll just like copy paste the commands and then explain them to you. Okay, so as you can see, I'm using a 3.9 Alpine image here. You can choose whatever you want. And what I'm doing is creating a directory called as Pytest container demo. And add is I'm copying all the files which are there inside the directory in which the Docker file is located. So this particular directory in which Docker file is located, it will copy all the files and folders from here to this particular directory in the inside the container. And then I'll make this as my working directory. I'll install pip, which is our dependency manager, and After that, I'll install all the packages which are listed out here. And then I'm doing is setting up a variable here called group, and you want to set it as smoke. So okay, awesome. So this completes our second step, which is the requirements.txt and Docker file. Now let's go to the build and run portion. So remember, I mentioned Docker file is a recipe for what you're trying to build and run. This way, building and running is actual cooking of that particular dish. So let's go ahead and run this particular command, which is docker build. Let, I will first go to this particular directory and then say docker build, and minus t is a tag which I want to associate for my image, and I will say this as pytest container, and this is 1.0 of my image, and a dot is uh, suggests that docker file is located in this particular directory. Okay, so it quickly downloaded our Alpine base image, created those directories, and now it is installing the dependencies which were mentioned in the uh, requirements.txt file. Okay, great. So looks like it completed uh, building that image. And now if I go to Docker images, uh, we should be able to see the image which we just created, which is Pytest container 1.0. So let's run this image. And when I say run, what we are doing is we are creating a container out of that image which we just created. So it is just kind of like an process, a running process for our image. And the command to run that is docker run minus ti, which just attaches it the standard input of this particular thing, and uh, the name of the image, which is pytest hyphen container colon 1.0, and I will just start this in an interactive bash session. Great. So as you can see, we are inside from this c colon this directory. We are inside this pytest container demo directory, and if I do a dir here, not dir, I should be doing a ls. So you can see uh, we have this docker file, we have this test underscore one, and we have this test underscore container, all got copied over. Another thing to note is, if you remember, we had created a variable called group and defaulted it to smoke. So if I go ahead and run an export here, you can see that we have this variable initialized as smoke. Okay, awesome. So executing so this particular step number 4, executing tests in the shell. uh, yeah, so we, since we are like already inside this particular thing, I will do pytest minus s minus v test underscore container.py, and you see both the tests have ran here. They printed what we wanted to, and they have passed. So great. uh, this is what we wanted. Now, like, what if you want, you don't want to run this particular command separately going inside a container shell? Like, you just want to run your container, and you want to, you want the test to be executed in the same go, like no two commands. Well, good news is, Docker does allow to do that. The only thing which you need to change here is the Docker file, and I'll show you how. So you just add one command called entry point. So what this command does is, it when the container is up and running, it will just go ahead and execute this command, and that will make your container run as executable. So great. uh, since I have made changes to the Docker file, I'll have to rebuild it again. I'll do this as 2.0. Okay, great, it is done. And now, if I go ahead and run docker run pytest, first let's check if that has been created or no. So I'll just go ahead and say docker images, and yeah, we have our 2.0. That's awesome. And if I do docker run pytest hyphen container 2.0, so note that I'm not putting the uh, bash shell things in this particular command, because I don't want it to start a shell, interactive shell. I just want the test to run, and then the container should automatically stop. See, I just ran that command, and it started that shell, it ran that test, and it passed, and we are back to our command prompt. So this completes our, okay, so this is entry point, and override is, if you remember, in the Docker file we have initialized the variable of group as smoke, right? And that's the reason why we have smoke running here. Now, what if you want to run, or what if you want to set this particular variable at runtime? Let's say at runtime you want the regression test to be run instead of smoke. So the way to do that is, if you go to docker run hyphen help. Oops, there is a typo. Okay, I'll rerun it again. Docker run, yeah, docker run hyphen help. Okay, so if you see these options, there is an option of -e, which is setting up the environment variables or overriding them if they are already set. So in this case, if I run docker run, remember the variable is defaulted to smoke. Now I will override it and make the group equal to regression, right? And pytest hyphen container colon 2.0. Yeah, so last time it ran smoke, and now it should run regression only. Okay, let's give it a try. Yeah, so you see, because we overrode that particular variable, this time only regression tests have ran. So this brings to the end of the session today on Pytest containerization, and I hope it was very useful for you. And if you need any help or want to know more about how to run these commands, again, you can always comment on the video, and I'll answer your questions as and when I get time. Thanks again for watching this video, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.